Hello, Dr. Soumya. Can I start?
Hi Pramodi, please go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon to all. So, can you all see my screen?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pramod Kumar. I am faculty in School of Engineering. Okay, so this formally we are starting your first lecture session of the course, Interactive Socio-Technical Practicum. So in this first lecture, I will be introducing you to social science research. Okay, so if you see over here, this entire term, social science research, it consists of three words. Okay, so the first part involved over here is science. Can you tell me, let us make this session interactive. Can you tell me what do you understand by science? Any one of you would like to answer?
Sir, answering and asking certain questions like, and then finding answers to them.
Yeah, so like why we are specifically, are we only answering the questions in science or in general also we can like question something and then we can provide answers?
Yes, I think like means if you are asking right questions and then finding their solutions in general, like that is the scientific way of approaching anything.
Yes, so now you have added the correct adjective. So basically, when we are doing systematic and organized body of knowledge, when we are having in certain area of inquiry, so that area of inquiry need not to be related to from engineering, it can be from related to society. Okay, and if we are acquiring this set of knowledge using some scientific methods, then only we will be calling it as science. Okay, so one of the very important component over here is that whatever the knowledge we are organizing and we are acquiring, that we should do in a scientific way. Okay, so based on this understanding, what we do, we can broadly categorize science into two different uh, fields. So the very first field we call as natural science, and second we can call as social science. So whatever the phenomenon which is happening in our atmosphere, whether it is related to something which is happening inside the core of the earth or something related to very fundamental about some plants, okay, our crops, etc., or any natural phenomena, any engineering phenomena, that we actually include in our natural sciences. And depending upon our target area, we further categorize natural sciences into, say, earth sciences, then we say physics, chemistry, bio, etc. So we are having multiple other categorizations. Okay, and when we are applying the principles of science or scientific methods to study about people or collection of people. Okay, so collection of people may involve groups, societies, economies. Okay, so when we are utilizing scientific methods for analyzing people or collection of people, and in order to understand their individual or collective behaviors, then we call our science as nothing but social science. Okay, so apart from this also, we are having one more categorization of science where we classify science into basic science and applied science. So generally what we do, physics, chemistry, math, biology, these we say as our basic sciences, which actually helps us in understanding the fundamental phenomenon which are happening in nature. And when we apply the scientific principles to achieve some desired task, so that kind of science which involves such developments, that we refer as nothing but applied science. Okay, then if you see, we have now answered the word social science, but one more word is attached to it, and that is research. So what is research? What do you understand by research? Anyone would like to answer?
So going deep into a particular topic to understand it and take out some useful insights.
Okay, yeah. So, what we do, research is nothing but a systematic inquiry, and that systematic inquiry involves to describe that particular system, to explain it, and we should also be able to predict the behavior of the system, and if required, we should be able to control that particular system. Okay, so over here, I am not referring to system as my engineering system. Okay, it can be, our society can also be considered as system while we are doing actually research. Okay, so when we are observing certain phenomena in our system, we should have some systematic inquiry, and if with the help of that systematic inquiry we are able to describe, explain, predict and control the behavior of the system, that particular thing we will be calling as research. Now research generally involves two different methods. The first one is inductive method and second is deductive method. So as the word itself tells, in case of inductive method, what we will be doing, we will be taking certain sample of data. Okay, so that sample of data can be taken from some, if say our system is involving engineering, then it may be, say we are repeating number of experiments, and from the set of experiments we are getting some data. It may be we are doing some theoretical analysis, we are doing some simulations, and when we are talking about the research, particularly with reference to social science, then our data collection method will be nothing but involving some surveys, say some interviews, some methods of collecting data in social science research are different than our engineering research. Okay, so once we have got some set of data, then whatever the information we are trying to infer from that set of data, and based on that information if we make certain conclusions, then we will be calling that research method as nothing but inductive research method. Okay, and in case of deductive methods, what we do, we are initially considering some hypothesis. Okay, so we are having certain hypotheses in our mind based on some literature understanding. Say some theory is existing, based on that theory we have made some hypothesis. Now we will be doing certain observations in order to test that particular hypothesis which we have considered. So that kind of method, where we are initially considering some hypothesis and then we are collecting data to prove that hypothesis, that kind of method we call as nothing but deductive methods. Okay, now when we are doing, so this is like common understanding about the research. Over here we are mainly interested in scientific research, scientific ways of doing research. So if we see at the scientific level, actually mainly we are having two approaches. One is theoretical level and another one is empirical level. So in general, whatever the methods I introduced to you, inductive and deductive, this theoretical and empirical are having direct relation to the inductive and deductive methods. Okay, so theoretical method or theoretical level of scientific research is similar to that of our deductive approach, where based on some theory we are making certain hypothesis and then we are doing some research in order to prove that hypothesis or to modify that hypothesis. It may also happen that whatever the hypothesis we have considered, that is actually not accurate based on the data which we have collected. Okay, so either we need to relook into the data, or based on our data, if we are finding that the way we have collected data that is scientific, okay, and our data is having certain characteristics such as repeatability, it is involving logical reasoning, we are finding that the hypothesis which we have actually taken, that is not appropriately matching to our collected data set, then we need to modify that particular theory. Okay, And empirical level is similar to that of the this one, another approach which I have told you, inductive approach, where we will be collecting first set of data, and then based on that data we will be making some hypothesis. So generally empirical level of research is employed for the areas where we are not having much prior knowledge about our targeted area of research. Okay. So you can see over here about theoretical research, I have given some formal definition. It is concerned with developing abstract concepts about natural or social phenomenon, and then we are trying to find out the relationship between these concepts. Okay. And if we refer to empirical research is something which is concerned with testing the theoretical concepts and relationships to see how well they reflect our observations. Okay. So as I told you that sometimes whatever the hypothesis we are making, it may not be exactly correct. So we have to check if that hypothesis is matching with the reality. So what is the process of checking with the reality? We have to collect data related to that particular hypothesis, and then we have to infer some information from the data. Okay. So when we are doing this empirical research, you can see the last line over here. Here our broader goal is to build better theories. Okay. So our main idea is that while we are testing some theories, if it is not matching with the observed data set, then obviously we have to provide certain modifications to that theories so that we are getting better. Okay. Now, when we are talking about the term research, it is not always possible that if we are following only a single approach of research, whether theoretical or empirical, and from that single approach itself, we will be able to analyze or obtain some concluding results. Okay. So this is something which is not always possible. Say if we are starting some new field, then also what we will be doing, initially we will be taking some initial set of data, and with that set of data then we will try to explore that particular area. But once we have got some preliminary idea about that, then obviously we can go back and relook into that. Okay. So a single approach of research itself is not sufficient. So what we have to do, if we see both these approaches actually moves parallel. Okay. So in the left side, in this schematic representation, if you see, one block is there for some theory and another is for observations. So when we are deriving our theories only from the observations, then we are calling our approach as inductive approach. And when we are doing some observations to test our hypothesis, to prove our theories, and for that we are taking some observations, that type of approach is called as deductive approach. But as I told you that none of the theory is perfect, so it may happen that when we are applying that particular theory, or based on that particular theory, if we observe some data set, that data set may not even fit into our theory. So we have to do some suggestions, we have to provide some suggestions in order to improve that theory. So that's why we cannot move in a single path, we have to be in the closed loop. Okay. So from observations we will be once again looking back to our theory, and from the theory we will be finding that what kind of observations are required in order to test our hypothesis. Okay. So this is kind of a closed loop over here, we cannot move in a single direction. Then while we are doing scientific research, as I told you that when we are saying research or we are talking about science, we have to follow certain standard methods. Okay. So these standard methods or techniques are something which is called as scientific method. Now say one example could be, for example, if you are 6 students in a team. Okay. So it may happen say 3 of you are doing your testing or experimentation separately, and other 3 students are doing actually in a separate group. Okay, and all of you are working on a same problem. So it should not happen that whatever the observation one group has got, these are not matching, or these are not leading to the observations which actually other group is getting. So if say for over a same set of population, 2 different research groups are trying to work on a same problem, or they are actually getting or collecting data on a similar problem, and if they are getting completely opposite trends, it means they are not using the scientific methods. Okay, because in science there should be repeatability. It is not something which is based on the someone's perception. So while we are doing the experimentation, we should actually, or say we are collecting data, we are making observations, we should be going, or we should be applying the scientific methods. If we are applying scientific methods, we are having certain standard set of techniques for building up the scientific knowledge. And in this way, what we will be having, if say different people who are working in say different parts of the country, and they are also working on say same problem, they will be getting actually same set of result. It should not be exactly same, but yeah, their observations should be similar. These will not be say completely opposite. Okay, so that's why we have to go for scientific methods, and scientific methods tell us that how to make valid observations, how to interpret results, and how to generalize those results in order to develop some theories. Okay. Now, scientific methods should have certain characteristics. So if our scientific method is not following these characteristics, then obviously there may be chances of not getting similar behaviors while we are studying a similar, while same system is studied by different researchers. Okay, so the very first characteristic is that we should, our scientific method should be logical. So it means whatever the explanations or inferences we are making from the scientifically collected data, these inferences must be based on logical principles of reasoning. Okay, these should be confirmable. So it means inferences what we are deriving, or theories which we are proposing based on some research, and that particular research is carried out using the scientific methods, then we should be able to provide some evidence for these inferences. Okay, and repeatability. So say if other scientists are also actually going to research the same problem, so they should be independently able to replicate or repeat the scientific studies which one has done. Okay, so at least there should be some similarity, even if results are not exactly the same. And while we are going into scientific methods, while we are deriving certain conclusions, then at each and every stage of the research, whatever the results we are getting, we should have some method to scrutinize. Okay, for example, there should be some peer review. So for example, in this particular case, what will be happening, whatever the results you will be deriving, these will be initially reviewed by your faculty mentors. Okay, and then later on, while you will be presenting your results, say in the open house or in front of some panel, from there also you will be getting some suggestions. So whenever we are doing scientific research, some results we are deriving, so these results should be actually peer reviewed. Okay, then while we do research, depending upon the type of the problem which we are studying, there are different types of scientific research. Okay, so the very first type of scientific research is exploratory research. So as I earlier also told you, that if we are starting to work in some new area, and in that new area we are not having much literature available. Okay, so such kind of research is actually referred to as exploratory research. And what is the scope of this kind of research? What is the benefit of doing exploratory research? Basically, this will be providing us the scope of extent up to which we can study a particular problem or a particular behavior. Okay, and it will help us to generate some initial idea about that phenomena. Okay, so once we have generated the initial idea, based on that we should also be able to test the feasibility of undertaking more extensive study. So it means whenever we have done preliminary study, that preliminary study or exploratory study should be able to guide the researchers in future whether this area can be explored further in order to do more extensive work. Okay, so the area which is very new, having very less information available in the literature, so that kind of problem if you are working, that is something which comes under the type of exploratory research. And one of the advantages of exploratory research is that as the problem is very new, so if you are having strong evidences to prove your hypothesis, to prove your theory, people will be actually immediately believing it, and it will be getting wide public publicity, because other people, while they will be referring to your work, then they will be further getting attention to carry forward. Okay, another kind of research is descriptive research. So in case of descriptive research, mainly we try to answer the questions like what, where and when. Okay, so when we are answering such type of questions while studying some phenomena or some behavior of the system, that kind of research we call as descriptive research. So here we will be taking some careful observations and we will be documenting these observations in order to study the phenomena of interest, and we will be examining the questions like what, where and when. And another research type is referred to as explanatory research. So in case of explanatory research, what is our aim? Our main aim is to seek the explanations of observed phenomena. So while we are seeking the explanations, these will be helping us to answer many of the questions, and it is kind of a cause effect. So we will be able to find some dependent variable, we will be able to find some independent variable, and we will be able to relate the reasoning why these dependent variables are behaving in a certain way, considering the variations in our independent variable. Okay, so when we are trying to answer the questions like why this is happening, how this is happening, so that kind of questions, when we are answering, that particular type of research is actually referred to as explanatory research. Okay, then next is, there are different stages of stages for conducting the scientific research. Now can you tell me how to approach for scientific research? Say you have taken some problem statement which you will be doing in this ISTP course. So how you want to proceed to carry forward your problem? Can you tell me some stages? What will be the sequence you will be following? Any one of you?
So first you just read about the topic and the area you have chosen, just an exploratory view. Then you probably come up and decide over some research objective. And then you test the validity of the research argument, how important that is or how feasible. And then you do the later analysis and achieve your research objective and then conclude probably.
Yeah, so almost you have answered almost all the points correctly. So let me show over here the different stages. So the very first stage is selection of broad area or topic, which I think almost all of you have now completed. Then the second part is to do literature survey. So related to that particular area, what other people have published, what is available in the research, what hypotheses other people have given. So we have to actually understand. So we have to do critical literature survey. Now, literature survey is one of the very, very important part or important stage of conducting the scientific research. Let me give you one example. It may also happen that many of you have selected some of the topics which are actually floated by the faculty members, and you are also given some specific set of objectives. So you may be happy in the initial stages that you have directly got the problem, and now immediately you can jump towards achieving your objectives. Okay, but while we will be while you people in the later stages, based on your data collection, you will be trying to infer the information or report the results or conclusions. You will be requiring support of existing literature in order to prove whether your findings are correct or not. Okay, and at the same point of time, if you are already doing the literature survey critically, you people will be able to think about your results more critically. You will be more critically able to analyze your results to infer some important findings. Okay, so that's why literature survey, even if your faculty mentors have already specified you the objectives, then also it is required to critically analyze the literature, because it will be helping in the later stages to develop your results and to provide some inference about the data set which you have observed. Okay, and once we are doing the literature survey, it may happen that you have started reading some literature, and while reading some literature you found that certain things are there which you are not able to understand. So if you are not able to understand these things, once again you have to go back into your theoretical and conceptual framework. So theoretical and conceptual framework, I can call it as nothing but your say coursework. Okay, so here you will be getting some initial knowledge which is required to read the literature, to understand the literature, to understand the terminology which is used in the literature. Okay, so that's why this literature review and development of theoretical and conceptual framework is something which is a cyclic process. So I have given downward arrow also and upward arrow also. So it's a cyclic process which operates in a loop. Okay, and once we have critically done the literature survey and we have developed theoretical and conceptual framework to carry forward the study, then we have to clearly mention our research questions or hypothesis which we want to study. Okay, so we should have clear understanding about your research questions, because if our research questions are not clear, then we will not be clearly able to identify that what type of method we need to take for data collection. Okay, okay, so once the questions are ready, then we need to go for research design. So what involves the research design? In case of research design, you have to depending upon your problem, you have to decide whether, as I told you, whether you want to do experiment if you are doing some engineering research, or some simulation if you are doing social science research. Then probably you may need to observe data from a population. So how you will be collecting data? You will be interviewing people, you will be circulating, you will be doing some online surveys, you will be doing some polls, etc. Okay, so that is something which comes under the part research design. And then data collection. So obviously while we will be employing different ways of collecting data, we will be getting certain amount of data set, and once we have got the data, then we have to analyze that particular data set in order to infer some important findings. Okay, so once again, this data collection and data analysis is a cyclic loop, because sometimes when we are analyzing our data, at that time we may find something which is actually not coming in order. Okay, or we may find something very, very interesting, but that is not matching with the existing theory. So what we have to do in order to strongly prove our point, we may have to once again collect the data and show the repeatability of that particular data. And sometimes it may also happen that we have observed some unique behavior, but we are not having sufficient data to answer or address that unique behavior. Okay, so we may need to involve some additional variables or additional parameters, and once again we need to go back to our data collection stage. Okay, and then once we have got data, finally then we will be drawing the conclusions. So many times we think that once we have concluded the things, up to this our task is over. Okay, but say if you have worked on some problem and if you have kept the findings of that particular problem up to yourself, then people outside will not be able to appreciate the work what you have done, and in future say if someone want to work in the same area, he will not be aware of your work and he may end up in doing the similar kind of work. Okay, so that's why after drawing the conclusion, dissemination is one very important component of the scientific research, where what we do, we write our results in the form of scientific reports, in the form of presentations, research articles, and we disseminate our work to the community. And many times if you are working in the field of engineering, then obviously we write term R&D. So along with the research, we do some developments also. Okay, so developments involve based on our theoretical understandings or whatever the conclusions we have made. Say we are developing some prototype in order to serve our community. Okay. So now let me take individual stages one by one. So what are the different characteristics of these individual stages of research, and what are the different things which we should follow in each of the research stages? So as I told you, this selection of broad area topic, it is actually very important and important stage, and it takes most of the time. Okay, because initially while we are selecting the topic, we will be getting a broad literature available on large range of topics, and each of the topic, if you start reading, you will be actually getting interest in that one. Okay, but what we have to do, we have to develop some preliminary research questions, and based on that we have to actually find that what kind of broad area I want to select. Okay, now selection of research question is very crucial stage, because if we are ending up in selecting some inappropriate topic or inappropriate questions, that will be actually creating some difficulties in the later stage. Okay, and sometimes difficulties will be such that, for example, for your 6 months ISTP project, if you are selecting some area that is not feasible in say 1 or 2 years. Okay, so in that case, what will be happening? Near the while you people will be evaluated for your ISTP course, then you will be in trouble, and say finally you will be saying that you are not getting good grades, or say. So what we have to do in the first stage itself, we have to be very clear about selection of the broad area or topic which we are actually selecting. Now it is worth dealing with this stage carefully. So it is worth if we are spending more time in the starting stage itself, so that we are not getting troubles later. Okay, now it is unlikely that we will be getting a final set of questions here itself, or we will be getting say directly our set of objectives, but here we will be getting some broad question, and while we will be entering more deeper into the further stages of literature survey and theoretical and conceptual building, that will be actually refining our initial questions which we have taken. Okay, then comes the literature survey. So literature survey involves critically reading and evaluation of the work which is already existing in our literature on the topic in which we want to actually work. Okay, and here aim of a researcher should be to become an expert in your field of research. Okay, so the more we will be reading, we will be able to get more understanding about the area, and we will be able to pose our research questions in a better way. So this kind of literature survey, as I told you earlier also, this stage generally works alongside the theoretical and conceptual frameworks. Okay, and we have to, if we are doing a critical literature survey, wide literature survey, it will be also helping us from many factors, such as whether similar research is already done or not. Okay, and sometimes it also gives us idea about the type of findings which we are actually expecting from our research problem. Okay, and it may also provide description about the theoretical frameworks and the previous methodologies. For example, if someone has earlier worked in the broad area where you are planning to work, so you can consider the methodologies which people have followed earlier, and based on that you can devise a better approach. Okay, in development of theoretical framework, this is something where we have to actually continuously work upon it, and we have to refine our theoretical and conceptual framework. Okay, sometimes while we are doing the research, or say it may also happen that you people will be more tempted towards directly attempting the problem, so you may overlook this one, but this is one very vital part of the research process, and it may alert you to many of the potential problems which will be occurring in the future. So that's why we should do this particular stage more carefully. Okay, the theoretical framework refers mainly to underlying theoretical approach that one may adopt to carry forward our study. Okay, now to conceptual framework, what we are considering, that basically defines and organizes the concepts which are important within the scope of our study. Okay, once we have done these two things, then we have to get clarification on our research questions. So stages 1 to 3, whatever the process I have just now told you, that process is kind of a circular process, means we will be getting some question, then we will be reading some literature, and we will be finding something new once again. Okay, so once again we will go back and we will try to change our questions. So that's why whatever the initial research questions we will be selecting, after moving in a circular process through first 3 stages of the research, it may happen that we will be oftenly rejecting our questions for number of reasons. Okay, and then we will be coming up with some new set of questions. Okay, so that's why sometimes stages 1 to 3 can take longer time than whatever we have anticipated, and it may also happen sometimes that we are coming up with some questions and then we are finding something based on which we are getting actually demotivated because of the lack of success, early success I should say, not the lack of success but lack of early success in the early stages of the research process. Okay, so there is no easy method. The only key is we have to keep on reading the literature and then come up with the ideas. Okay, if we are able to develop good and focused research questions, then the last part of the research remains is only to answer these specific questions. So now, to answer these specific questions, what we have to do, we have to actually devise certain ways. Okay, so now can you tell me what are the different ways which we should approach to answer our research questions? Any idea? For example, you have thought something related to your problem. So what we have to do, this is something which is called as the research design stage. So in the research design stage, we have to answer questions like, what data do I need to collect? Okay, so before this stage, we have got clear set of questions which we want to actually solve. Okay, so to solve these questions, we have to observe some data set. So we have to collect some data set. So while collecting the data set, before that we should know that what is the required data which I need to answer the questions which we have undertaken. Okay, and what is the best way to collect this data? So these are some questions we should be able to answer in our research design stage, and based on these questions we should actually select different approaches which we want to apply for obtaining our data set. Okay, so let me also break these questions into more details. So the more details, here what we do, we try to question us that what overall research design should I use? Will I go for a cross-sectional or longitudinal design? So can you tell me what is the difference between cross-sectional design and longitudinal design? Anyone is having any idea about cross-sectional and longitudinal design? So while we do the social science research, many times, because in case of social science research, we are depending upon people, we are depending upon society. Okay, so whatever the data or observations we will be collecting, that will depend upon the state of mind of the person. So it may happen that say if you are collecting some set of data, if you are giving some questionnaire to some set of people, and say at some time you are collecting or observing their observations, and same set of questionnaire if you are giving to same society after some time, where our surrounding situation has changed. So depending upon that, their state of mind may be different about the same problem. Okay, so there what will be happening, our data set will be subjected to huge fluctuations. Okay, so that's why what we have to do, we have to consider that what kind of problem we are solving, and depending upon that type of problem, we have to consider whether we need to go for cross-sectional approach or longitudinal approach. In case of cross-sectional approach, what we do, we try to acquire data at different times. Okay, so we are having same set of population, we are having same set of questionnaires, but we are collecting that data at different times. Okay, over a period of span. And in case of second approach, longitudinal approach, at a single time we try to take the observations of our population. Then we have to also decide whether we need to collect primary data or will there be suitable secondary data to use. So can you tell me what is the difference between primary data and secondary data? Anyone would like to answer?
In primary data, you yourself do the research and the data collection, but secondary research is basically, secondary data collection is basically from secondary sources of work that people have already done. You just build upon them.
Yes. So, for example, majority of the research work we do in engineering, what we do, someone has already done the experiment. Based on their experiment, we first develop some initial knowledge and then we carry forward the research. So if we are not doing our own experiment, if we are not collecting our own data, so there we will be saying that we have collected data from some secondary source, and based on that we are actually trying to infer some results, some findings. Okay, and if we are doing experiments, or say if we are doing surveys by ourselves, interviews by ourselves, then our source of data collection will be primary. Okay, and what methods, for example, whether do we need to interview people or do we need to go for questionnaire surveys? So these are the different questions which one has to answer in the research design stage. Okay, and if we are so out of these different stages in the research design, if we are critically able to analyze our variables, we are critically able to identify the questions which we need to answer. If this stage is our perfect, then we will not find any difficulty in the later stages of data analysis while we are inferring results from the observed data set. Okay. What should who should participate in the research and how will I gain access to them, and what are the exact procedures that I should adopt in my data collection to ensure reliability and validity. So these are the different questions which one should answer in the research design itself, because if your design of research data collection approach is correct, it is perfect, then you will not be facing difficulties in the later stages while analyzing your data set. Okay. And in the data collection, yeah, once again, like we should be clear about what data to collect and how to collect it, and we should also be clear about the methodology, that which methods we have to utilize. Okay, and methods of data collection based on the primary and secondary sources, I have listed some over here in this block diagram. So you can see in the primary sources, we are going for the direct observations, interviewing and questionnaires, etc. And in case of secondary sources, we are referring to the documents which are already available with us. Okay. And then comes data analysis. So data analysis is the stage 6, is stage 7. So whatever data we have collected in stage 6, that need to be analyzed over here, and we need to provide the answers to the research questions which we have posed initially. Okay, and here methods of data analysis, whatever we will be selecting, that will be related to the objective of the research. So there is no standard method for data analysis. So whatever the problem you are having, depending upon that what type of data you have collected, we have to analyze accordingly. Okay, so for example, in case of engineering research, many of the times we are having quantitative data. Okay, so we are observing, we are doing some experiments, and then say we are recording values for different variables x, y, z, and then we are applying some statistical techniques to analyze these variables and then to infer some information from these variables. Whereas in case of social science research, it may happen that majority of the time our observations are of qualitative nature. Okay, so in order to analyze the qualitative set of data, we have to go for different kind of methods. Okay, and this is also one important point, and this is something which also ascertains that what is the need for critical literature survey. So what I am trying to say over here, that while we are discussing about the results which we have got from our data set, we should provide the suitable references to the results. Okay, and these references we will be able to only cite if we are doing critical literature survey in stage number 2. Okay, and it should also be mentioned that how do the findings add to the literature. So obviously when we do some research, in the earlier research there will be some gap, and we are providing some new data set, we are providing some new insight which is actually trying to bridge that gap with the existing literature. Okay, and we have to also critically mention that our results are supporting the literature. If our results are not supporting the literature, then what are the reasons? Okay, because we are going in a scientific way. So if we are going in a scientific way, so we should be able to answer this why also. Now, generally the common fault what we see in many of the scientific reports is that we are discussing the findings, but we are not providing any references back to the literature. Okay, so this kind of framework is actually not has to be followed while we are going for the scientific research method. Then once we have analyzed the results, then we should be able to draw some conclusions, and these conclusions we should be able to relate back to the focused research questions which we have taken earlier. Okay, and while we are answering the research question, we should state our conclusions clearly. Okay, so for example, if we have our data set is not sufficient enough to answer any questions which we have initially taken, so we should clearly mention the limitations of our research also. Okay, we should not say that okay, everything whatever we have taken we have answered, because that is not always achievable while we are going for the research. Okay, so we should be able to evaluate how successful we have achieved our research objectives, and we should also highlight the strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, when we will be highlighting the strengths and weaknesses, these will be helping other researchers also to work in the similar area. Okay, and we have to make recommendations for further research also. And after conclusion, there comes one important part. We have to disseminate our work in terms of research articles, patents, or product development, which will be actually benefiting our community. Okay, so with this I would like to stop this session. So if you are having any questions, that we can take up now.
So could you please post the sequence and what topics